Welcome to Said in Stone, an Ozinga podcast, where we converge with industry leaders, our own expert coworkers, and others on what we've made, what we can build on, and the legacy we'll leave behind. Subscribe to the program on your preferred podcast app, as well as on YouTube for full video of every conversation. And give us a follow on Instagram at saidinstone_podcast. Today's guests are Chris and Will Salvi, founders of Salvi Media, a Chicago-based content agency specializing in executive communications, brand storytelling, and digital strategy. To entrepreneurs like Chris and Will, the CEO should be the most influential person at any particular company. And with their Emmy-winning YouTube program, the CEO Series, through their Media Brand Executive House, they've worked to prove this theory by humanizing the C-suite. Via in-depth conversations with the heads of Goodyear, Wintrust, Morningstar, Potbelly, and more, the duo have created a worldwide network of elite thought leaders from the ground up, and a new way for viewers of all stripes, from everyday customers to aspiring executives, to learn about what makes them tick. They've even spotlighted our own CEO, Marty Ozinga, in 2023. Today, Chris and Will detail how playing Notre Dame football in front of 80,000 people prepped them to go one-on-one with some of the most powerful people in business. Plus, how authenticity breeds more customer loyalty than any spreadsheet can show. Here again is Ozinga CEO Marty Ozinga.
Well, this is fun.
It is.
This is great.
I feel like it's a role reversal. You guys are always on the other side of the interview process.
Yeah, and we did this a week ago too.
Oh yeah,
I
you got
really
interviewed by someone else?
Yeah.
Oh, and you enjoyed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did.
Well,
It was cool. It was like so. This is cool because this is a very official podcast studio.
Yeah.
And then last week we were filming in the LA Coliseum because
wow.
the guy interviewed. We did a CEO Series episode, and then he has his own podcast, and it's Clay Matthews' brother.
Oh yeah.
Kyle Matthews, and he's built this awesome commercial real estate company.
And he has a podcast?
And he's got a podcast. He does similar
to check
things.
it out.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So many podcasts, it's hard to
Yeah, a lot of podcasts.
figure out.
I think
if we should be another one.
this setup and the way, your credibility, it's like you're already ahead of a lot of the
thanks.
podcasts. Yeah.
Thanks.
So
We're trying. Well, welcome. It's good to have you guys.
Thank you.
I usually like to just kind of start from the beginning and just hear the story. I'm particularly sort of fascinated to get your take on a house of all brothers, no sisters, right? Or you guys have sisters? Yeah. So in our household it was 6 boys. You guys are 5 boys, right?
Right.
yep.
And where does I've interviewed 2 people before, and I'm curious of the dynamic too. Like, we'll just let you guys sort of, typical of a bunch of brothers in a house, you got to fight over food and who talks. And
Who's talking?
Yeah, let me go first.
Yeah. I usually talk more than Chris. So
Okay.
Go ahead.
well, we're the 2 youngest.
Okay.
I'm the youngest.
That's helpful, I think.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5 boys, 9 years apart from my oldest brother, and then we're the 2 youngest.
So tell me age-wise then, what does that put you and your oldest brother then?
So I'm 34. My brother Pat's 43.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 36.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
All 2.5 years apart.
Okay.
Yeah.
And your mom is
She's a saint.
She's
Yeah.
a nice lady.
Like
Yeah,
your
she's
mom, I'm
great.
sure.
Yeah.
Like strict but very loving.
Yeah.
Is it similar?
Yeah, I mean, I just said my mom was a praying woman, because
She had to be.
we brought her
Every
to her
night.
knees all the time.
Yeah. She had to be.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I have
Yeah.
1 child and he has 3 and
It's a lot. Could
5
you imagine
kids.
6 boys?
Yeah. How many
5
do you
boys?
have?
6.
6.
Yeah, 3 boys and
God
3
bless.
girls. I think there's something particularly challenging and special for a mother with all men in the house, though. I think
Yeah.
there's something about that dynamic that's particularly,
Bro.
so sort of rewards are in heaven greater at some point, So
Yeah.
Yeah. I there is something about that.
yeah.
I don't know exactly how to explain it, but everyone says like, "Oh my God, your mom, 5 boys. Like, how did she do it?" And I'm sure
Yeah.
you get that
Yep.
every time you mention it.
I'm close with both of our parents, but I'm close with my mom, and it's a special.
Yeah, shout out to
relationship.
moms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
We don't
great.
need
Yeah,
Mother's
moms
Day
are
to-
great.
Yeah, moms
Yeah.
are great.
Yeah. So my mom passed in 2010, and we miss her dearly. But we always think in terms of like her legacy she never worked a day at this company, but I think of her in terms of she had more influence on this company than any other person. That the 6 owners she raised and had more influence on us than any other person. So
I love that take.
Yeah, and I think we haven't done it lately, but LinkedIn used to have a bring your parents to work day, and that was kind of cool because we. I got a chance to actually thank the parents for all that they poured into, and we're the beneficiaries as the employer of what parents have done, all those years pouring into their kids. And you don't really think of it that way as an employer all the time, but, parents put so much into their children, and, we're the beneficiaries of all that sacrifice and all that hard work and everything they pour into them. But, yeah.
Marty, we're 5 minutes in. You got 2 great takes already.
Yeah.
And I'm the one talking.
Gold.
I'm trying to interview you guys.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a beautiful thing.
No, you're right. Like if you find a good person that you start working with intimately, and then you realize
you want to
there's
meet their parents.
Yeah, it's almost like it's so much deeper than just that person. And yeah, they probably have that great foundation with either family or friends or someone close to them that help them become who they are.
Yeah, for sure. So let's start at the beginning with the 5 boys. Where did you guys grow up, and where your sort of roots are?
You keep looking at me, but I'll go too long.
Yeah, Lake Forest, Illinois.
Okay.
Don't hold it against us. Yeah.
Cake eaters.
North Shore.
North Shore. Just a wonderful childhood. Like quintessential, nothing more you could ask for, really. Like parents that loved us so deeply, but also knew how to challenge us in the right ways. And then, of course, the dynamics of 5 brothers was always so much fun. Like there was always things to do. And then even on top of just 5 brothers, we had a lot of close family friends. Our neighborhood was a classic neighborhood of we played games together. We played
outside.
Yeah.
Constantly outside.
Neighborhood-wide capture the flag.
Yeah.
I mean, God, please tell me people are still doing that.
Yeah.
And if they're not, they should.
Yeah,
because we had so much
I don't
fun.
think they are. I joke now that it used to be when I was growing up, like you guys, to go to your room was like the worst punishment. Go to your room.
Yeah.
Now it's like, please get out of your room. It's like, get off your phone. Get out of your room.
Can you please go outside?
Please go outside. No.
So lots of outside time, especially in the summer, until the sun went down. You wanted the sun to stay out a little
Playing
bit
sports,
longer.
pickup games.
Whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever.
Until it was too dark to play.
Yeah, we were constantly outside.
Yeah.
I remember when weather permitting, but it
Was your
great.
family from that area?
Yeah. Our dad.
For a long time?
Lake Zurich.
Okay.
And his dad and his grandfather, Wilmette.
Our grandfather,
Wilmette?
I live in Wilmette now, and he went to New Trier, and our grandfather, and then they grew up in Wilmette.
Yeah.
Do you know where
And
the
then
family originally came to this area from? Where? Or
Yeah, they were from Venice.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a pretty cool immigration story. So Alberto Salvi, our great grandfather, he was Venetian, and his father, they manufactured harps and violins
in Venice.
In Venice.
Okay, cool.
And it was a successful business, music making, instrument making business. But they recognized Alberto's talents as a harpist. So he started going around Italy playing the harp, and then eventually had opportunities come to the United States. So they moved the business here into Chicago. Alberto started playing literally all over the country for the Chicago Symphony Orchestra was his main thing, but he would play all over the country.
played for Herbert Hoover.
Yeah,
he was
Wow,
truly
big time.
he
Yeah,
is-
famous.
If you search Alberto Salvi, he's like the top harpist.
I'm gonna do it after
Small market, with harps and who knows harpists, but I did piano lessons right before COVID, and I remember there was a harp section, and I went up and I said, "Oh, my great grandfather was a harpist," and she said, "What was his name?" And I said, "Alberto Salvi," and she freaked out. It was really
Wow.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a really nice moment.
My one of my brothers took up the harp for a while.
Oh,
It's a
nice.
beautiful
Yeah.
instrument.
The sound is beautiful.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Very graceful.
And then there's a famous harp maker in Chicago, Lyon and Healy.
So the Salvi Harps owns Lyons and Healy. So they have a monopoly over the harp market, which isn't a huge market, but it's a nice little business and
fascinating.
Yeah.
That's great Chicago history right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, I like starting at the beginning.
That's real beginning.
Yeah, that's real. And then I could try to, his son, unfortunately, he had a daughter and a son. The daughter passed away, but Albert Salvi, our grandfather. He became a lawyer. He had 9 children. The oldest was Patrick Salvi, our dad. He married Linda Schultz, who was from Pennsylvania. He was at the University of Notre Dame Law School. She was at St. Mary's. And then they had 5 children. I'm number 4.
Fantastic.
Yeah, from my perspective.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then they got to me 5, and they were like, "We can stop here.
That's enough.
Yeah, that's enough.
This kid's crazy.
And where did you guys go to high school?
With the Carmel Catholic. Yeah.
Which
That's in Mundelein.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you played football there?
Yes. We both did.
On the same team then, together?
Same team.
Because you're, what, a grade or 2 apart? Or?
Yeah, 1 grade apart.
Okay.
And we played football together in high school. And my dad, well, as I mentioned before, my dad's one of 9. So we literally went to high school, and I can't remember which year it was, maybe your junior year or my senior year. There was 13 Salvis at Carmel Catholic High School. So, class would end, we'd go to the next class.
Hey,
cousins.
What's up? Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, it was great.
We had 4 on the same football team.
Yeah. And we had
Okay.
a good football team. We got to the semis. Our parents and uncles and aunts had more fun than we did, I think.
It was really a special time.
It was a special time.
That's great.
And sports were just a big part of our life. And then Will and I went on to play in college, too, at the University of Notre Dame. So, yeah.
How was that?
That was an unbelievable experience.
Yeah.
awesome.
I mean, was it tough? Did you walk on? Did you get how does that?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
We both walked on. And you just, my experience was I was just,
like Rudy.
yeah, but it was like Rudy. I was decent, though.
I'm going to pause real quick because everyone says
Sorry.
like Rudy. Chris's story, because he transferred from Butler to play football at Notre Dame. He was like, I want something bigger.
you started at Butler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I started
And
at
that was
the
hard,
University
too.
of Alabama. I did not play football there. Chris was like, I'm playing football in college.
Was that a
I was
dream?
just going to college.
To play football?
Yeah.
For Notre Dame?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chris goes.
I thought I was going to be a Hall of Famer when I was like
Sure,
12.
we all did. Yeah.
His story is super cool because he goes to Notre Dame. It was like a preferred walk on. They knew this guy from Butler is coming over. It's not like he was just knocking.
What
on the
position?
door.
Safety.
Okay.
And then walks onto the team, and eventually, like, you have to sit out that first year at the time, and then walks onto the team. I still remember getting the call, like, hey, I'm going to play this week. His first year of actual eligibility to be on the field, and it was at Michigan State.
Wild atmosphere.
And so
how many people
naturally,
are there? I mean, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
They're mean.
But yeah, it was so super special because I did not have any plans to play football. So I transferred from the University of Alabama after my freshman year.
And you weren't playing there?
No.
Okay.
God, no. No, Saban recruited me. Yeah. No, but yeah, I still remember going to see him, and I was like the biggest fan. And eventually, like, he just started playing like every special team unit, and really like doing very well in each special team unit. I would say, like, if there was a special team captain, you would have been the special team captain.
Yeah.
If that was a thing. He ended up being a game day captain for Notre Dame. So he was like a very well-respected player. And then
How many people show up for the Notre Dame games at Notre Dame?
80,000.
80,000 people. How does that
80,000
feel? How does that
change.
feel to play in front of 80,000 people? I mean, that's kind of...
It's exhilarating.
Yeah, I would
It's
imagine.
hard to explain, but it's extremely exhilarating. You actually have to focus on harnessing your energy.
Okay.
Because it could easily just come out.
Yeah.
I actually have a memory of we were playing Michigan for a night game. It was the first night game at NotreAme in a long time. And simply put, I let that energy out before the game started. Or on the opening kickoff. I
You're
just
like
got
exhausted.
You see that sometimes,
I
like
was
in the playoffs or
yep.
whatever. Teams come out way too crazy.
And I got my ass kicked every play almost in that game because I
Wow.
was cashed.
Okay.
And there was this one guy when I was on punt. He caught me up every time. He whooped me that game, and in part because I didn't harness my energy well.
Yeah,
enough.
that's interesting. And so, but you transferred to Notre Dame then from
Bama.
And at that point, were you a spectator, or did you walk on as well? Or?
I was a spectator. I was just a fan. So I got the student experience and the walk-on experience. Notre Dame at the time had inter-hall football between dorms. It was full pads and full tackle.
Oh, wow.
They don't have it anymore because they had like not too many people joining, and it's a little unsafe, as you can imagine,
Sure.
to like have, hey, come play tackle football. But it was awesome. Did very well in it. Played that for 2 years.
In what position?
Corner and wide receiver.
Okay.
And so
You caught the game-winning championship pass.
Yeah,
for this
second,
that's
intramural
my
thing
moment.
or whatever
Yeah,
you call it?
in the Notre Dame
It's-
Stadium.
They do it in the stadium, so it's
Oh,
really
that's
cool.
awesome.
Yeah, it was like a fade route. It
Yeah.
was sweet.
You had your own moment of glory. How many people were in the stands for
Oh, about 13. No, but it was basically the whole dorms, you know.
Okay.
Yeah. But Chris and the other walk-on friends that I knew and that like I'd hang out with would always come to games because they were on Sunday after a Notre Dame game.
Sure.
So they would always come see it. And then I still remember eventually over time, like I was doing well enough where they were like, hey, you should consider it. Like, and then Chris gave me a workout plan and walked on my junior year spring. So I was on the Notre Dame football team for a full calendar year.
Okay.
And the year that I was on it was his final year. So he got a scholarship his last year because of how well he was doing. That was the year that we went to the national championship against Bama.
Whoa.
And it was a really fun
your
season.
former school?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a really fun season.
That is really cool story.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got into that.
And to sum up the
And you won or you lost?
no, we got
Okay.
42-14.
Dominated.
It wasn't
Yeah.
even close.
This was when Bama was
the height.
pumping. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were a good team. We got a little lucky in a few games. We were a top 5-ish team, probably.
Yeah.
Not number 2. But to sum up how interesting and exciting the experience was, one week we were at the at Yankee Stadium playing Army. 7 days later, and they put us through the treatment of like private plane, food, massages, it's like, and then the very next week we're at the LA Coliseum playing USC. It's like, that's just an unbelievable experience to have as a young person, as anyone. So just very thankful for that.
Yeah. So how do you sort of recover from that?
Seriously.
Because sometimes, like they said, what's his name? Neil Armstrong. After he went to the moon, like it was all downhill from that. It was just like depressed.
How could you not? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I seriously struggled with my shedding the identity as an athlete. I was actually telling this story last week on the podcast. I 2 different times, maybe 3-4 months, where it was like I don't know, there's probably different levels to depression, but depressed where I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't really want to do anything, confusion on like my purpose, all that type of stuff, and it sucked. And to be frank, it culminated into one day I called up my mom. I'm at work I'm over in Connecticut as a GA coaching. So I didn't know what to do. So I stayed in coaching, even though I knew it wasn't my path for the long term, but I didn't know what to do. And I remember it culminated in me calling my mom. She flew out, and she did what mothers do. She was loving and caring, and
She was there.
Yeah, she was there. And Dad flew out too. And I had to figure out what was next.
Yeah.
And that's what I started to do, and then that's what we started to do. We started our business shortly after.
And what year was that?
2017.
Tell me about that story. Like, how did you sort of get to that point where you guys decided to do? How do you know what you wanted to do, or even do something together?
I mean, I think it's fair to say we didn't know what the hell, what we wanted to do. We were searching for things.
We wanted to go into business together.
We wanted to go into business.
And why is that?
We just
the
trust
two of
each
you.
other.
Yeah.
We.
Think of the story we just told too. Like we've been 1 year apart in school. We have similar friends. I mentioned like the friends in college. We did classes together in college. We have a lot of the same best friends. We were on sports teams together. I mean, we've just always been super tight.
Yeah.
And so, we've been roommates. Like we've been through stuff together. So I think starting a business and going through that gauntlet it didn't really scare us. Plus, like entrepreneurship, we've always just generally, from a high level standpoint, have been very interested in it.
And had you seen that in your family or like friends? I mean, entrepreneurship in particular.
Our dad, obviously, he has his own law firm, and I think I will say
He's entrepreneurial in other ways too.
He is.
Started
So
other businesses and
him and my oldest brother and our middle brother are attorneys. So it's interesting because like Patrick and Patrick are very like they're attorneys. But then as my dad grew older and like the law firm started doing well and everything, like I think he became more entrepreneurial in different ways. So maybe us as younger
that's
siblings,
what we
started to
witnessed in our
gather
teenage
more
years.
of that versus more of the lawyer stuff.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's a
Patrick,
good way to put it.
Patrick was like mentored early on, law school. Like he's like in his blood, he's a lawyer. Versus us, our dad was like, "Oh, it would be cool if you could do that." Like a little bit more of like the possibilities in life, that type of stuff.
I joke in our family even there's like almost two sets of parents. You know, you got the oldest and then the young. It's just almost like two different parents. Like your parents just change over time, you know.
Right.
And it's interesting to hear you share like your dad's sort of change in, you know, sort of perspective a little bit on with you guys versus the older one.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment.
And I still remember being in college, and me and you, and when I moved to DC after
what
college.
business should we start?
We would always talk about it.
What's
like
this?
we'd be chatting on Google Chat.
Have you done like little entrepreneurial things like in your younger years? You know,
Not really.
Yeah, lemonade stands,
stuff like that.
Stuff
yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
little things.
But our mom would be like, this isn't like how it works. I bought the lemonade. That's a good
lesson right there.
Your cogs are zero. Yeah.
Well, that's always helpful.
Yeah, your profit's amazing on this. Yeah, it was just like I think growing up, it was our parents gave us like a healthy towards the end because we're the youngest, like a healthy, at least for me, what should you do?
Yeah,
like an exciting, like you should find something that you're really interested in. And I think entrepreneurship provided that path because when I started working jobs, I worked on on Capitol Hill, my first job out of college. He had a GA coaching spot at UConn. Like these are good jobs to start, if you're into that, if you want to grow in that way. And we just weren't into it.
Yeah.
And then I started working for a beverage distributor, a beer distributor here in the city. It made me fall in love with the city, but I didn't like being an employee. We wanted our own path.
That's
we wanted our own destiny.
Yeah. So how do you start something from scratch? Like, I mean,
you suck at it.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you guys start something? As far as like, where do you start? What do you do?
We talked about different things, but I would say the impetus of what we ultimately started was a video production company at the beginning, and we were drawn towards storytelling and literally connecting with people like we are now. I would say that is like the seed of it.
We
because
just
that's our
enjoyed,
natural
like,
human inclination.
Yeah, like a camera would be up with someone and you'd be talking to someone like you, and it was fun. It was fun to meet them, talk to them, whether the camera was rolling or not. It was just kind of like fun to start connecting and traveling to these fun different businesses, seeing what their messaging is and what video we'd create. Like at the beginning, it was a lot of exposure to a lot of people. It was cool.
And to make it specific about like a business opportunity, what we did see in 2017, and I still believe even today, a lot of B2B businesses weren't making any content at that time, almost very little video content.
It was very sort of counterintuitive because you don't think B2B, that's not what you think. Like we have a budget for that.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's becoming more of a thing now. It wasn't a thing then, but we started to introduce it to a lot of like small businesses. And so we would start to pick up these small projects. We built up a small portfolio of clients that we serviced, and we pivoted several times. We went from, just creating videos to a marketing agency, which we didn't really do that well of a job getting into, and then we pivoted again into what we call it now just executive communications. So we create content for executives, but really that's how we're positioned. But a lot of our revenue still is from clients that we've had for several
content
years.
Agency, essentially.
As a content agency, content studio.
Like we have here's a campaign that we want to do. We need you all to execute on the content, soup to nuts.
Yeah.
So.
Over that period of time, you said you sucked at it, but like what have you sort of learned along the way that, if someone else was listening, hopefully someone listens, but as other people listen who are considering starting something from scratch, what do you say?
I would say now is the best time to start business with like technology.
I've heard this from other people too.
Like technology. This is certainly not an original thought, but but it seems to make sense. Like technology being able to enable things that maybe a person would spend half their time doing, you can now have some automation or something like that.
I just find it exciting when someone wants to do their own thing.
Yeah.
And because it's the ultimate like creativity and problem solving, and you have to try to be original to some degree, even if your business is kind of straightforward and anyone can know what it is, but you still have to be creative on how you're managing it and how you're operating it and trying to problem solve to do it the best way to ultimately be successful. So, and it's a huge challenge. So it's really fun because it's just constant.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean, like literally every day is something.
Yeah. The biggest problems.
It's really exciting.
The most exciting opportunities.
Yeah. It's exhausting too.
On your plate. I would say like what's really humbling is like a business is especially if you want it to be a business, not just like a sole proprietor, you know,
Right.
because there's a big difference between trying to build a business and having a shop of yourself and an assistant or a couple people. Businesses are really dynamic. It's like if you're someone who, just for example, like you're a video person, you're like, I'm going to start a video production company. It's like, okay, if you're going to build a business, you're not actually going to be doing any video production, right? That's not what you're going to do anymore.
Right.
You're going to be doing sales. You're going to be promoting the business. You're going to be figure out the operations. You're going to be talking to you're going to be leading and managing your team. You won't be making videos anymore. And I don't think we ever were like super drawn to be the ones holding the camera, doing the editing. And we figured that out really early. So hopping like into all these different positions is exciting, tiring, humbling,
Annoying, yeah, like all things, yeah.
So if you can handle that as a person, start a business, especially if you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I find that there's sort of a caricature out there of like a CEO, for instance, or even a founder or whatnot of, you know, maybe cartoonish of, you know, something boastful or arrogant when the reality of trying to do this work keeps you so humble all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
definitely.
And it's just sort of it's just constant humbling.
Yeah.
In a lot of respects, and people don't necessarily like. It's like, oh, you have your own business, must be wonderful and great and everything else. Not that it isn't, but it regularly humbles you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
But I will take that in exchange for maybe this is my own disposition. This doesn't apply towards everyone because some people like being directed very like specifically. I do not. I like feeling like free in my head, if you will. You know, that like I'm going to wake up and do what I want to do today.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to set the priorities. Right. And not that I always properly set the priorities for the business, but the freedom to do so is very important.
Do you think that's like a nature, a nurture? Like, you know, is it like baked in your DNA, your wiring, or is it like your environment that you grew up in? Or how do you guys look at that kind of thing?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think our parents and our brothers were very good at like, we're a close group. We trust each other. Like we're very close with one another. We're very close with our closest friends. And I think everyone around us just kind of gave us that, like we're tight with us. We need to, you know, you don't need to accept everything. You can ask questions. You can doubt things. It's helpful to do that. Our parents were very good at like, you know, if you had a problem with a teacher, for example, they'd want us to like respect you know, the way, the teacher, all those things. They don't want us to be disrespectful, but at the same time, it's okay to doubt and question and challenge back sometimes. So I think it was a good balance of like making sure that we do things the right way and do things with integrity, while also, you know, you do have freedom to do it the way you want to do it as well. And so I do think it's a little bit more like the environment.
Yeah.
Our dad was very much like, no, you want to control your path.
Yeah.
He's kind of got that little rebel in him.
He's got a little rebel in him where if a teacher said something and it didn't make sense, like you're kind of like, no, I gotta say something.
And it translated to all of us.
Yeah.
And to speak specifically for me, dyslexia was a big deal when I was a child. Like I was physically present at school, but I wasn't mentally present at school for, I don't know, at least 5 years, like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10
and
years
did you feel
old.
like that's sort of like you had some labeling from the school about that of some sort, or confusion or disorientation? Or?
No, I would just call it like I had a lot of self-doubt.
Okay.
But then it turned into like, oh, actually the way I think, especially now I believe in it, like the way I think is an advantage. Like if you go, I think about it this way.
Can you explain?
Like,
I'm not familiar with how dyslexia sort of turns into an advantage, or
yeah. So dyslexia is there's different types. Like some it's like, hey, you got serious problem with reading, writing, language, math, and they don't really know like what exactly the problem is. There's some theories that it's like related to memory. Like just like short-term memory isn't as good with dyslexics. That's one theory, but there isn't like a lot of great explanation for it. There is an element of like, one, there's a spectrum of it. Like you can have very severe dyslexia, you can have very mild dyslexia, and it's not that uncommon for mild dyslexia. Lots of people, like 10, 20% of the population. But then there's people I was probably somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
But enough to affect me in school, so I became disengaged. But dyslexia, memory, they're not exactly sure, but it's difficult. And you grow out of it because you just learn how to read. Everything becomes more familiar. It just takes more time as a child.
Okay.
So you fall behind. I was held back. That was the reason why part of the reason why we were probably close, because then we were always 1 year apart.
See how that goes? You have a hardship, but then it turns into something.
Isn't it like
super
pattern recognition to problem solve? But the
patterns those are like the benefits.
Workarounds. Basically, dyslexia. People with dyslexia have to find new patterns to figure out the problem because they're the typical pattern. Say like 1 + 1 = 2. It's like they need to. That's a bad example because that's what 1 + 1 is. But you have to figure out a way to get to 2. Yeah, without 1 + 1.
A common term that I've come across while reading about dyslexia is just call it like workarounds.
Okay.
So they're good at workarounds.
You're trained to
figure out
solve,
different
to work. Okay.
It's ingrained.
So it becomes a superpower.
It's a superpower because you can imagine, like, a lot of us now are talking about the failures of the education system.
Yeah.
Very real, in my opinion. Like, what people were doing 50 years ago is not what we're doing today. Certainly, we all know that. So I'm very thankful for dyslexia.
That's a big battleship to sort of.
It is. It is. It's daunting.
Entrenchment.
There's a lot going on in that combo.
Yeah, we won't open it up too far.
Yeah. Let's dive into the education system.
Well, you guys were political. One of you was political
Both
science.
of us,
man.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So
both of us were poli-sci. Yeah.
Just to put a bow on dyslexia, I'm going to say look for dyslexic employees. They will be different.
How would you even? I mean, no one sort of leads with that, as far as I know, do they?
They should.
They should.
They definitely should.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's encouraging to anyone listening. Again, who's you dealt with this or dealing with this.
Tout it.
Yeah.
Tout it. I mean, it's the childhood portion that the person deals with it because you just learn.
Yeah.
Right, and you get past it. But it's by far a superpower. Think about it. If you're thinking different than everyone else, that's the key.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's great. Well, thanks for
Especially
sharing that.
over time,
No, I'm weirdly proud of it now.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word. But thankful for it.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah.
So, how has the business evolved from your original vision of videography and all that kind of stuff? Just talk us through a little bit how the evolutions of it and where it is today.
This is actually a good segue from Chris's dyslexia commentary. He eventually said, this was right around COVID, right around 2020, where our videos at the time, a lot of corporate, a lot of internal, not exactly the most fun to promote online. In the world of media and content, there's a lot of wacky stuff out there. And so to get attention, doing an earnings report, internal video is not exactly going to get a ton of engagement. So
although the McDonald's guy got a lot of attention.
Oh, we can go into that if you want to. I'll dive into that.
You guys didn't do that, did
We'll
you?
dive into that. Yeah.
We'll get to it. No,
you guys didn't do that. I would love to talk about that. But Chris essentially said, let's interview people and do original content. We had a couple of connections, and so we originally reached out to Ed Waymer, the founder and CEO of Wintrust at the time, and he said yes, and we did a 5-minute video where we were just asking high-level business leadership questions. What's your management style? The videos were very simple. They weren't exactly groundbreaking interviews or anything. It was just a nice video on accomplished people. We asked Ed at the end of the video, because he seemed to enjoy the experience, we were like, do you know anyone that would want to do this? And he introduced us to Tom Ricketts, Jerry Reinsdorf, Greg Brown, CEO of Motorola, and then Pat Gallagher, CEO of Gallagher.
And they all said yes?
They all said yes. So we have two major sports team owners that said yes, and then 2 Fortune 500 that said yes. And so after that, we made these 6 videos. We started asking other cool Chicago companies, and we leveraged them. We were like, hey, look at these videos, what we did. Can we do one with you? And I think we got Boco Restaurant Group. And then we got Simple Mills, which is they sell at Whole Foods, the crackers, and they sell a bunch of other stuff. Then we just got rolling on it, and we started reaching out and connecting with more CEOs and asking more.
As that was happening, how did you start to think of,
the business?
What's a go-to-market for that kind of
So that it
process?
Was the go-to-market.
That was it.
So we pivoted into the executive communications, creating content for executives. This was how do we get our attention for it? We don't have work samples, case studies.
We want to do executive comms, so we might as well show the executives. We're getting in front of these really really legitimate people. Let's show them our work with them in it. And they will come across better because we know how to do it. We just know how to do it. We know how they sound.
Sure.
We know a stuffy executive video versus a non-stuffy executive video. That's one skill set that I do think we have. Like when serious people are on camera, it's like, hey, be a person. That's why I mentioned Chris K. We can definitely talk about McDonald's. But so this was our go-to-market. We realized though, like we started getting more guests. We had 10 episodes, and then we did the next slate of 10. So I think we did like 20 to 30 episodes where it was like, that was our, like we were trying to meet these people. We were trying to meet their communications people. And then
By the way, they're awesome. I mean, you guys
the videos?
you did a fantastic job with them.
it.
I mean, they've won awards too, right?
3 Emmys.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
3 Emmys, And essentially around that time, we started to focus less on like the overt go-to-market strategy where we were like, we're trying to meet the communications team and show these people good videos and then like ultimately try to work with them if there's an organic relationship. We realized like that might not be the way. Let's just make the best videos we can and try to create this brand, the CEO series. And then we just started to pump it. I started to focus all my time on it.
He's out of the agency.
I'm out of the agency, and so we separated the businesses. Now it's Executive House, which is a media brand that has the CEO series. It has a show called the Tech Series where we interview CTOs and CIOs, and then Salvi Media, which is the content agency. And so this Executive House and the CEO series is now kind of like the thing that everyone wants to talk to us about and the thing that we're seeing most success and most potential future success in. So it's really exciting. It's the thing that we love most. It's how we met you. We get to speak to like really interesting, good business people.
Yeah, how does that work? Like, has it been pretty organic to sort of the next door that opens to talk to somebody?
It's pretty much all inbound now.
Yeah.
So when we got...
You should see the people we reject.
Yeah. Really?
It's like, I wish I was half as successful as you, but sorry. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Literally, there's some companies where we're like, I'm sorry, we can't do it. It's not that interesting of a story. And they're doing like $500 million in revenue and they have like X amount of, it's really cool.
Okay, so no issue with the inbound.
No.
Like, okay.
Because when I got originally connected with you, it was one of our past guests.
Yeah, this was early when you were rejecting people.
No, I mean, you have one of those. You have one of the best companies in Chicago.
Thanks.
Paul Sue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
shout out to Paul Sue, great guy.
I think he just reached out to me on LinkedIn because he liked some of the stuff I was posting, and we had breakfast, and then he said, well, "You got to meet these guys."
Oh, cool!
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I still remember doing the Zoom call with you, and I still remember you said, "What do you think about Chicago?" You were asking me questions, and I was like, "I'm starting to like this guy." No, just because like sometimes you meet some CEOs, not always, but sometimes you meet some, and they're just like, "Who are you?" You know, especially when you're trying to interview them or something. But now it's like a full-on thing where now we have credibility with the show. Now I used to be nervous in front of camera. Now I notice some CEOs join and I'm like, oh, you're entering our domain now. This is fun. It's kind of flipped. And then to Chris's point, inbound from legit people. I mean, the last 20 episodes or so, 25 episodes or so have been all inbound, mostly. And now we target who we want to target.
And what is the cadence? Do you have like a targeted cadence for? Or
no, not really, because like the CEO's schedule, we're kind of at the mercy of it. We do it in person every time. It's about 90 to 2 hours of filming with them. So we do a sit-down interview and them. It's a show, right? So this is a podcast. You have an hour of footage and conversation. Ours is, from what you remember, it's like 20 minutes. We film about 2 hours with you, and then we walk around. Like, I want to see the CEO's domain. I want to see what you do. Like, show me your office. Show me the trucks. Show me the cement. You know what I mean? That's cool. It's almost like Undercover Boss without being undercover. And it's a good way for them to show off their passions and why they're doing it. And then from a cadence standpoint, we kind of just schedule it out based off of our budget, based off availability on our end and their end. And then it's purely based off interest.
Okay.
So me and Chris will look at some of these guests and just be like, should we do it? You know, oh, this is cool. Like, this is cool. Oh, this guy's got a great score. This lady's built this really cool thing. And so we'll just kind of choose it. We have like light requirements on what we look for. One thing that we don't want to do is like only do CPG or only do AI companies or only do this. Like we want a hodgepodge. We want to know credible, good business people. What makes them tick? What are their business philosophies? How do they treat their employees? Like how are they making their community better? How are they performing? You know, it's a business. Like, are they a good performer? Is the business awesome? That's why we do the show.
And through the process of all these interviews, are you seeing sort of patterns or themes or takeaways that are consistent, or is it just like, hey, every story is so unique and different? Or, I mean, just curious in general, like how you like what you're learning from, like, because you're receiving a lot in the process too.
It's awesome listening to these people.
Yeah.
So I'll attend and I'll just be behind the camera listening, and it's like. It's a masterclass.
Sure.
I mean, there's a wide range of competency of people we've interviewed. Some of them are private companies, so we're not really sure, right? But I would say a consistent theme is that for sure they show up, like a CEO. They give off the presence, pretty much all of them. And then next is a lot of them are.
Can you explain that, like for people who may not, be maybe someone who's an aspiring CEO? Like, what does it mean to show up and give off the...
So these are large companies, most of them. So we've done about like 75 episodes. I would say like 50 of them are pretty large.
Oh, yeah.
Like...
And what
middle market or large.
And what would you say, like, like what do you feel like it means to show up? Because that may mean different things to different people if they hear that.
I think one way of putting it is that they come off confident.
Okay.
Like I don't really sense weaknesses when they walk into the room. I don't know if that's a weird way of putting it.
But there's a fine line, it seems, between confident and then like arrogant.
Well, I think some of it is like a persona. I'm the CEO of this big company. I can show up confidently in this space because, I'm the one being interviewed
on the show with the cameras.
But not in arrogance. It's not like we've got a bunch of people who are arrogant or anything. It's just confident people, and they should be.
Yep. They're competitive. They're focused. So on like these big companies, back to roles and delegating, like you can tell like they do a very specific thing, and the rest of it's, I don't mean this in any negative way, but like back to the point of large companies, there is a figurehead element to it too. Like you are
publicly traded. Yeah.
Yeah. You are a bit of you got to be a bit of a showman to the people, both the people on the inside and the outside. There is an element of that. You got to give them grace in that sense. There's huge differences between founders and non-founders. There's big differences between family-owned and non-family-owned. There's a monster difference in like, I'm the CEO of this big global company, so I have bosses. Or the professional CEO, the professional executive, where they're like formerly from McKinsey and now they're the CEO, and you're kind of like, you're not as talented as the other one, like the founder who like started something and built. I don't know.
That's your bias anyway.
That's my bias.
Definitely is bias.
Well, to be honest, like founders and family owned and private tend to be a little bit more open, tend to be a little bit more passionate about the business. You can just tell, like you can see it in their eyes. They tend to care a little bit more about their employees, whereas that professional executive, the publicly traded, as the companies start getting large, you can start to see more of that shareholder value vibes.
We got to do a deep dive into the transcripts, because as you talk about this, I also say to myself, like, I think that's what I've picked up on too, like the professional CEO more focused on performance, numbers, etc., and then family owned, founder, whatever, more like people oriented. But I think it would behoove us to like.
I'll bring up Chris Kempminski right now from McDonald's. So like.
CEO McDonald's, Chicago company.
Very good CEO too, from like back to shareholder. Like he is a well-performing CEO, and he's been there for a solid amount of time. His tenure is much longer than the average Fortune 500 company.
Seems like it.
Yeah, the Fortune 500.
Even from McDonald's standpoint.
Yeah, Fortune 500 tenure for CEOs is like 3-4 years. It's like a running back in the NFL. It's not it's a quick position to have. It's ruthless out there for them. But that being said, like, he's a good example of like, this is a monster company. I'm going to take a bite of this product, instead of saying like, look at this great burger. You can just tell he's not comfortable with the situation. But
he does do these
a lot.
He does them.
I follow him on LinkedIn.
He does them a lot. He's a dork all the time, by the way. And so I would love to have him on the CEO
That's
series.
The irony. Is like, I'm like, this is what he does all the time. Like, it's not that unusual, but they've
this one
I'll
got
let you
picked,
tell the story.
Well, no, this one just got picked up. Like the algorithm found it, and everyone was just like, this wasn't natural, and the bite was small. And so we always say, if you're a dork, or if you're cool, or if you're like quiet, be that. Like, don't try to be something you're not. I do think he wasn't. I don't think he was trying to be something else. It just got picked up in a way that just went totally viral, and everyone just started dumping on them. Yeah, just piling on it, and it started to be really funny. That being said, I'm sure it's very good for the Big Arch and McDonald's, like the best marketing campaign.
Yeah, you wonder, do these things hurt anybody? You know, like sometimes the attention's not a bad thing, but...
In this situation, absolutely not. Like, he didn't do anything wrong. He was just a dork on camera.
Right.
Yeah. So
people do worse things.
people do worse
as we
things.
know.
For sure.
Yeah, there's nothing inherently wrong with what he did. But yeah, we're big proponents, especially nowadays, like 2026. There's content now. People, I think, are more digitally literate, where you see something on TV and you're like, I don't trust this. Why? Because they're not giving off a vibe that's like authentic or real. You can just tell. Because we all see so many people talking on TV now, and it's not like in the 2000s when we were growing up, like the news anchors were the only thing I would see talking on TV, and the shows were much more limited. There was less content. So anything that someone on TV said, I would trust, you know? And now I see news anchors, I'm like, why are they talking like that? Yeah. And then you see podcasts and people are confessing very personal stories. Chris is talking about dyslexia and his identity and depression. I mean, this is real human storytelling. And
when are you going to share some?
I know. I'm lacking right now. But like, you just see it more. And so I'm a big proponent of CEO or otherwise. Like, you need to get yourself out there in the realest way possible.
It's relatable.
Because I think it behooves you to do so.
And is this part of your, I don't want to say pitch, but part of your purpose to, like for these guys or gals to...
This is it.
Yeah.
This is it. Like,
just the humanization of...
The old playbook of communications is going to be thrown out over the next several years because the younger people demand it. Of their leaders. It's not just like, hey, we're here for work, tell us what to do. It's like, who the hell are you? Why should I be working here? What's our purpose?
What do you care about? Like, why should I tie my time and self to you? Which is a good thing. I think more comms teams and more CEOs specific, you're seeing it a little bit with founders and younger CEOs. They're starting to get far more social and much more content driven because it also, who's the best influencer at your company? Your C-suite, like these are credible people. They've been there. They've done it. Most of them, like they're so smart. They have respectable reputations. Like, get them out there, talk, like share your opinions.
The key is to have a point of view on the market. Like a differentiated view of like what's happening in your business.
I think one of the things I wrestle with is I've always sort of admired the, Jim Collins in Goodyear talks about the level 5 leader. You're competitive, and you have this ferocious will to win, and all these things, and yet like incredible amounts of humility and just almost where the organization isn't living off of the charisma or the energy of the leader,
right?
And so there's this. I've always had this like sort of like. Wanting to be a little bit careful as to not be too out front where everybody's sort of depending, okay, now what is he saying? Or, whatever.
Totally. Yeah.
And yet you don't want to be totally in the background either because people start to draw their own conclusions about what you're thinking or where we're going or whatever. And so there is some kind of, I don't know if you call it a balance or some, anyway, it's just something I'm mindful of.
So a wrinkle that we, like, as we say, like things like executive content, executive communications, that goes broader too. Like in putting yourself out there as a CEO, go communicate with interns to the middle manager, VP. Like put them on content, platform them. Those things can all be beneficial in team building, thought leadership, content to
and we've been doing more and more of that. Our comms team has been doing more and more of that with our drivers, with our frontline folks, and it's really encouraging to I think for all of us to hear each other's stories, because otherwise it's, nameless, faceless kind of, as you grow, you don't have that connection. And this medium does allow you to sort of get into the person's story. And I think it helps build trust ultimately. Is one of the things we're really working on is how do we build trust with each other as coworkers, but our customers, the community, and to this whole point of, hey, these are human beings as well, and we're trying to tell our story in a way that's authentic.
I'm curious what you're seeing from your younger employees.
Yeah, I think
is there a difference?
Well, I do think like to your point, like we grew up in a different environment from a media standpoint. Our kids, and I'm a little older than you guys, but they just have a different type of we didn't grow up with the social media that they did. And so they're constantly sort of out there and seeing other people that are out there. So I just think that's what they're used to. That's what they understand. Like, whereas, when we grew up, and particularly like my dad's generation, as a private company, everything's so close to the vest. Like, you don't share anything.
Right.
The competition might, pick up on it or something. Everything was like cloak and dagger secret.
Right.
And, I've kind of started to err on the side of more and more transparency, appreciating that there are risks, but I think the rewards are greater than the risk because this generation, to your point earlier, is demanding it, really. And
they're different.
Yeah, it's just, I think in a lot of respects, there's so many talented people out there who are hardworking and who are good, but where are the people sort of who are really in alignment with your purpose and your values and the things you care deeply about and your heartbeat? So you can have all kinds of people out there who could be talented and hardworking, and they identify, to your point earlier, they identify with the heartbeat of that leader. And they're like, yeah, that's the kind of person I want to follow. And I don't mean just like individually. I mean just like sort of the ethos or the culture, the DNA of the philosophy of the organization. Right. And for me, as a multi-generational sort of leader, I've really just tried to sort of put a megaphone to the things that I believe that have always sort of been a part of what we've believed.
The content that you push out, sorry to cut you off, but the content that you, because I observe a lot of our CEOs I just like observing it. Based on how I know you personally off camera, it's like, it's very much you. So I
appreciate that. Yeah.
I think it's like, I think back to the point of being yourself. Like, if you truly care about something, you'll share it, and you won't be afraid to hide behind it. If that's like truly your mission, that's your purpose. These are my values. Like, and then it feels better. Yeah, you feel like you're not faking it. You feel like you're not putting on a mask as a CEO. No, this is what I care about. Why? Because here's why, and this is X, Y, and Z.
The fact that it's a private company, it's a family business. There is more freedom, I think.
Absolutely.
In doing some of that, and the type of industry you're in. I get it that someone's under a lot more of a microscope than I am as a giant publicly traded company. And they've got all kinds of other stakeholders and constituents who are, immediately like looking to pile on for some activist reason or whatever. And so I appreciate that I'm in a different situation a little bit, but also to take advantage of that.
You do.
Yeah.
In the best way possible. Yeah. We love your content.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
Jim
you.
and your comms team.
No, we're having fun with it. I think one of the things that I'm always curious about, and I'm curious to hear what you guys are learning from this, is, there's so much content out there, and we're living in a world of views and likes, and and trying to almost like it's hard whether you're a young person or an older person, especially when you put a lot into something, is not to sort of like keep a scorecard or judge yourself based on how many likes you got or how many views you got. How do you measure success when you're creating content, for whether it's your clients or yourselves or whatever? Because there's the easy scorecard of just purely like, did it go viral or whatever?
Right.
It depends on the situation, like client to client, because there's situations where we just create the asset, we hand it over, they are taking care of the strategy, and we're not really. More situations I wish we were involved in, like what the results were, but we work with so many B2B companies. It comes down to either brand building of the executive measured by all these different types of metrics that you can gather from YouTube, LinkedIn, whatever. And there's various things we care about more than others. Like, we most definitely care more about like people commenting and reposting than we do about impressions or likes. So we track things like to share ratio, like to comment ratio. We care a lot more about that than like the sheer volume of numbers and who is engaging with the content. Again, mostly B2B is our clients. So like, how do you stand out? Just like your product, it has to be differentiated. You got to be, if you're talking personal, get personal and make it interesting for people to consume. If it's a differentiated point of view on the market that you think is going to help you and your clients win business, then get that out there and let people know clearly, how what you're doing is better than what other people are doing. And I don't think it's that much more complex than that.
Yeah.
If you're a CEO and you're trying to stand out, specifically on our show, like, we can only ask so many questions and see what the answer is and try to push and pull with that game. But like, if you're just going to be a CEO that kind of talks like nonsense and just kind of does that high level, doesn't really say anything, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
You're just
all
gonna
the
be
buzzwords.
all the buzzwords. Hey, I really care about our stakeholders and, X, Y, and you're just kind of like, this is kind of like a canned answer. So I think like, especially nowadays, back to digital literacy, I think people have a much better smell of like what's real and what's not. So I think now more than ever, the content that is truly real and like you're seeing the person, you're getting a taste for their personality, that will stand out eventually. And then on top of that, our show specifically, like, we're not doing a virtual podcast. I told you before recording or at the beginning, like this already makes your show stand out because of the quality of the production. Like the microphones are legit. How many podcasts have you seen where it's virtual? You don't really hear the person well. Yeah, it's hard to watch that when I watch Netflix at night. And then so our show, like you get to see, if you watch the Goodyear Tire CEO, the blimp is in the background and that's fun. Like, so we try to make it like a show for specific to us,
and that's
trying
a
to stand out.
differentiation.
Yeah, so when people call ours a podcast, we're actually like, we put it on podcast just for the sake of it, but it is a show.
How would you say most people are digesting the show, through YouTube or
YouTube?
YouTube and LinkedIn.
YouTube.
That's what we're focused on.
Okay.
Yeah, and about 70% of our audience has buying authority, so they're senior director or above VPs. And that's who our audience is. So
that's a big outcome our clients want.
Yeah.
Pipeline
like
influence.
People want pipeline influence.
Brand building and exposure or pipeline influence?
Our shows talk to executives, credible executives, typically at larger companies. We want executives and aspiring executives to watch our show. If you're in business or you're an entrepreneur or you're a founder or you're someone who works at a big company and you're like, I want to be a VP at that company eventually, you should watch our show.
Is that why you say pipeline? Is that pipeline of talent? Like when you say pipeline, what do you?
Yeah, the revenue.
The revenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's elements like we've talked about people like attracting talent, and that's associated with the brand building of the executive.
Yeah. Because one of my we started pretty early on with content, even before we were doing it internally. And one of my big takeaways was, companies have big budgets for recruitment and for talent, and HR typically, and there's a lot of effort that goes into that. What I don't think they instinctively think of is creating content of the leadership for a recruiting tool.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And yet, I've had more people who've talked to us about, I watched your stuff or whatever, and I really wanted to work for that kind of company.
I love that.
And if you really believe that your people are your greatest differentiator, your greatest, potential, where growth happens. To me, it was like a light bulb went off of like, hey, there's like a whole world out there of really interesting, talented people who our network's only so big, from what we always had. Now all of a sudden you're putting a megaphone to our story, to our values, to where we want to go, what we want to accomplish. And as part of that process, we're attracting talented people who want to be a part, are coming to us. And the right people.
Yeah.
Young people will say, I want to work for him. Why? Because I saw that one clip and then I started researching them more, and then I get to see what they're about.
Yeah.
And now you maybe have access to people in California, Oregon, Canada, whatever, versus say 50 years ago is just this region.
And one thing we're super bullish, long on, however you want to put it, is in person. And so this is being talked about more. You hear it on LinkedIn or somewhere else, but we're super big on events, complementing the content with events and complementing the events with content.
And what are those like? I haven't been to one. Sorry.
Yeah.
What kind of event
know.
would you?
I'm just. Well, you've been to our dinners.
Yeah. No, those have been great.
Yeah, that's an example of it.
Okay, I have been to those.
In a sense,
Yeah.
That's an example of like what someone can do to foster community around their business.
Yeah.
I feel strongly too about like events. I've been to a lot of events, and no offense to anyone that like speaks at events, but typically I'm like, why am I listening to this person? Not because they're not talented or smart, just more so because the get wasn't that great.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of like, I'm more of a peer. I'd like to talk to them personally. I don't know if I want to listen to them in an interview. I think people, when they host events, they too often go for low-hanging fruit to who they're like is going to speak to the audience. So we want to utilize our CEO series and our content to get the most credible people on that subject matter to come and talk to an audience where it's like, how'd you get them to talk to it? And you want to listen to the CEO of Morning Brew on how to get an audience or about the future of media. He's got a really great perspective on it. Like, he's not some comms person that works at this siloed company. No, he's got like, they have hundreds of employees throughout the entire country. They've gathered an audience. They create really interesting content. Like, he's got a great perspective on this, and he doesn't just do any event. So we think we've done a good job at like getting people to engage with us at these in-person events, and then ultimately like at the dinners, and create a bit of a community in that sense too.
Yeah.
We talk about moats a lot in business. Your advantage, your moat. What is it? We believe that it's not even it's a fact. Like, it always has been and always will be, especially in B2B, trusted relationships is the biggest moat.
I agree 100%.
Right?
I just told our people this last week.
Right?
Everybody thinks of IP and, other, I don't know, patents, whatever, I mean, there's all kinds of things that people immediately instinctively think of, but relationships, trusted relationships.
You trust their competency, and you trust they won't screw you over.
Right.
Right.
And when you have a problem, that you're going to show up and not run away.
And you show up. And when that's a thing, like, good luck beating out that person for that business.
I told a story like when I came out, I was a business major in college and undergrad, and I came out of school, and I had in my head that I spent some time in sales, and if I come up with the best price, that's just a no-brainer. Well, I'm going to save someone money. Of course, you're going to go with. And what I discovered was, like, that guy from the competition, like, he bailed my dad out of jail in 1970 something, and everything else. There's all this stuff, like, it's like over his dead body. Will we ever use the red and white? It's just like all this stuff. I'm like, wow, this stuff runs really deep. Like the trust that people have built, and there's way more loyalty than a spreadsheet will ever show you, or people, including myself, like young people, and when they think of business terms, they just underestimate the relationship mode.
And digital kind of tricked us. It started to make us think like, digital is very important, very influential, as we know, from all the way from business things to, elections for the presidency. So digital's big, but the biggest moat there always has been and always will be trusted.
And I don't think AI or anything's going to make that go away.
It makes it more important.
Yeah.
I think it makes it more important. It emphasizes it because there's already a lot of AI slop, and people are just... I think people are going to start gravitating more for in real life experiences, and then also back to the point of what is your relationship mode? Who do you trust? How do you trust them? That's going to be the utmost importance.
Like, for instance, we have a number of friends who have been extremely.
You're going to coin that term, relationship mode.
Relationship mode. There we go. And by the way, I stole that from shout out to Amanda Lannert, who said that to me. And
no, I'm with you.
I've been stealing it.
Yeah. With her, yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
She's great. Yeah. A number of our friends, super successful entrepreneurs, can take a company from 0 to 20 million within years, and then they're like, hey, it gets tough once you get there. And something we've learned, because we have sold to enterprises, we've won business, we've lost business, you're up against relationships now. You're not just a novel thing anymore. The ticket size you're going for, you're now up against bigger companies. Those bigger companies have salespeople and account people who have personal relationships. Sometimes decades of personal relationships with those enterprises, with people in positions of, be able to make decisions and allocate their budgets. It's like, it's not going to be easy to win that business. You got to start integrating your organization with those organizations. There's no way around it. If you want to start winning huge contracts,
some people think this is kind of a devious thing in a way, but
it is.
Because in the sense of like, it's who you know, and that's just, people just need to get over the idea like, hey, that's the world we live in. People are going to do business with those they trust. And that takes time. Like, and you got to keep showing up, and you got to keep, sort of.
And you don't trust anyone with a bad product or bad services or bad competency or don't show up. So like the trust is also part of the seriousness of the individual. Yeah. So you don't ever trust it. You're not like, I just like Will and I'm going to sign him and he sucks, but I like him. It's like, that's not what we're talking about. That's not a who you know. That's you want to work with people who you trust, they're competent, they perform, all the things.
I do think of the trust ledger as like two sides. You have like the I do like you and I want to work with you, but you also got to be competent. You got to nail both of those sides of it.
Yeah, otherwise it'll just fizzle out.
Right.
You'll both
if you're
lose.
Not good.
Right.
Yeah.
We're coming to the end of our time, but throughout this time this morning, it's reminding me just your enthusiasm is infectious from the standpoint of this work, and a lot of it is the way I know you guys is like almost purpose driven in a way that like, hey, if we get to these folks, the tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands collectively that they're leading, if we can start to affect the culture of these organizations, wow, that's
Marty,
that's a purpose
driven.
We're
here to influence the influential.
Yeah.
We don't want to be CEO of the largest company in the world.
Nope.
But I would like to tell the CEO of the largest company in the world, like, behave like this.
Yeah. Hey, what are you doing?
I'm looking at you right now, Marty. Like,
you have
be the best human being you can to these people.
You have a
right?
responsibility. Yeah, you truly do. And if
you're not going to be perfect,
think it,
that's okay.
If Sam Altman doesn't think he has a massive responsibility to get this right, he's not thinking about it right.
Well, let's keep. Now that you brought him up, I mean, what is your guys' take on sort of? I want to ask you a couple more topics.
Tech bros.
Well, not even them so much, but I mean, we can talk about them if you want. But even AI in general, whether it's how it affects your business or, in general, like, it feels like it's going to have a big impact. Mm-hmm. But it also feels like when and how much and where does that leave sort of going to the point around the responsibility of the people who are in charge? Where does that leave us as far as how to think about these things?
Did you see Jack Dorsey's? He laid off about 4,000 people. And
I saw it. I didn't spend a lot of time, reading through it or whatever. He gave
he tweeted something, and it was a long explanation. Laying off 4,000 people for either overspending or overhiring for AI. Like, you can argue like why they did that or whatever. But I thought from a communications perspective, from a person who runs like a Fortune 500 company, very influential tech leader. They clearly had enough money to keep those people on. That's what he said in his message. But I thought that was like a masterclass on how to do a mass layoffs. And it's doing any type of layoffs with thousands of people is inherently hard and inhuman. It's not like I'm not saying like he's a terrible person for it, but it's just like it's kind of robotic. You're looking at numbers and you're saying I got to lay off 4,000 people. But like, he gave a great severance compared to what other companies would do. He told them, hey, we're making a lot of money. I'm just like, we're going to have to do this like probably in the next 2 to 3 years. And I'm just doing it now. And I'm doing it in a full swoop versus like periodically over time. And then he offered a vision forward. He gave like a true explanation. Like, he was just being honest. He was saying, we have to do this. AI's changing the world. We have extra fat. I'm trimming it. Mm-hmm. And I'm trimming it now, and it's going to be painful, and I'm sorry. And this is the vision that we're going for, and we'll see if it works. That was what he did. So I think AI is going to create a bloodbath with jobs like that in the next 18 months. I think there's going to be a bloodbath.
It does seem like a little bit of a, I hate to say it this way, but I don't want to say convenient excuse, but it does seem like the in vogue kind of thing to say at this point. Like if you're looking to do like AI, is the sort of the reason for we're trimming the fat kind of thing.
Are you seeing productivity gains from artificial intelligence?
I think yes, not so much where we're having like it's affecting jobs. It's more like sort of making people more productive and then giving us more opportunities. I would say at this point, I don't see it putting people out of work from our standpoint. Where we're probably impacted the most right now is the data center build out, because there's just incredible amounts of concrete needed on the data centers. So, I mean, the infrastructure build out of the data centers is just so enormous that for us, it's just trying to keep up with all of that.
It's a good problem.
It's great. Now, every community is in love with having a data center in their community, so there's another PR challenge there that I think it'd be helpful for everybody to be thinking about, and we're happy to be trying to figure out how to be helpful in that as much as we can. We're a supplier to a concrete contractor who is a general contractor, a developer, and then a hyperscaler or whatever. But the electricity issue is a big one, and the water issue is a big one, and just in general, like, what's it going to do to the cost of electricity and, with the water and everything else. And so, and that all being said, for us, we're fully trying to embrace it and encouraging our people to do that. But there's these promises of like it's going to happen so fast where you're just not going to need people kind of thing. And I'm just not seeing that just yet in our space. So
Amazon's, I don't know if it was this last earnings report or the one before, they go, we can double the capacity of our distribution centers without adding a single employee. That's insane.
With robots and everything else.
They have 2 million robots.
Yeah.
More robots than any other company in the entire country. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just a quick thought. We had a CEO yesterday who's got like 30 or 40 engineers that write code. And he explained it like I would only need 5 based off of the new update from Claude. The Anthropic one is apparently like a total stallion. ChatGPT is a little bit more mainstream.
Yeah.
But he gave an example about the lines of code that it wrote with accuracy and 90% accuracy. And he just said, like, we'll need people to manage the output and make sure it's accurate.
I'm excited to see, I'm always, we've always had a long history of embracing technology, but seeing it not so much as like, a way to trim headcount or even like reduce cost. It's more like how can we do more of what we love to do, scale more, like just do more.
Pay everyone more.
Yeah,
I think about that. It's like, okay, you cut those 4,000 people. Can we increase the salaries of the people remaining by 25%?
Because part of what he said was like, look how much money we're making. I think they made $10 billion in profit.
Please, share that with all of the shareholders.
Truly,
not just the people who or all the stakeholders, not just the people who own. So I think just like general participation in capitalism could help with what we believe to be the wrong incentives. If more employees had, more upside to the business, then maybe this would be.
Chris mentioned social contract. There are too many companies that have broken that, where they do something like that and they say they don't increase the salary, or there's too many companies that we made $1 billion in profit, pizza day, we'll make you guys feel happy. It's like, no, I have $1 billion in profit, increase our salaries. I don't want pizza. There's employees that feel cheated by it, and so back to the point of just doing things holistically to ultimately get better performance. You want a more engaged workforce and people who are passionate about it and care about the same things that you do, because ultimately it should help bring more value.
Yeah. Lastly, you guys interview a ton of people in the city of Chicago, in and around the Chicago area. What are you seeing, feeling? Chicago gets bagged on by the national media, and just in general, like your optimism or pessimism about Chicagoland, and just in general.
You do your take, and then I'll do my take.
I owe specifically Chicago. 40% of the budget goes to benefits. That's not even just the salaries of people working; it's the benefits. So to be clear, our tax dollars in Chicago, 40% of them goes to the retirement of the workers of Chicago. And God bless those people, but you cannot run an entity where 40% of your budget goes to the retirement of your employees. It's just the math won't work out. You won't be able to provide good services for your citizens. So it's going to take some serious political will for people to make it more sustainable.
Can you imagine if your private company was?
You would never be. You wouldn't be able to.
Just can't even imagine.
You'd be dead in a year. Yeah,
this.
exactly. You'd be dead. The thought. That's where I go. I'm like, well, that's just, you can't do that.
It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. So it's going to take serious political will. If there's someone willing to put themselves out there to change that, I want to get behind them and help them however I can. I also respect unions, but there has to be there's a give take here of all of us to make Chicago better. I hope it happens, and I'm here to help.
And are you generally optimistic about Chicago?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great things about Chicago. I like citing the diversity of the economy. It's a big city that has lots going on, lots of opportunity, lots of different types of people, smart people, great workforce. Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic about Chicago. Maybe quantum blows up. That would be pretty awesome. But I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
I'm optimistic about Chicago. I love Chicago. Bullish on Chicago. I love the people in Chicago. I think the one issue that Chicago has is I don't think we're good at promoting ourselves or sticking our chest out and saying why we're good. I think we're terrible at it. I think we fight in the wrong way. the Midwest has like one of the largest economies.
It's like a
in the
brand
world.
problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
It sounds like they could
why
use
is
some help.
Chicago being
The
used?
entrepreneurs are too.
Why is Chicago being used as a talking point for violence all the time when I can literally name 20 other cities that have violence problems.
Right.
That are worse than Chicago from a per capita basis.
Sure.
So like there's little things like that where I'm like, man, we're really fighting in the wrong ways. And then from like a business community standpoint, I've noticed, maybe not your tier, you're a higher tier from a business community standpoint, but like I'd say like maybe a tier below you. Like I think the business community kind of only networks with one another. And back to the point, like there's so many large, diverse businesses here. There's diverse industries here. It's obviously a beautiful city to come and visit. Like there's opportunity here. And I think we just need to puff our chest out. And I think we do need to be a little bit more transactional. I do think we need to have a bit more of an ego as a city. I think San Fran does a great job with that. I think New York does a great job with that, where it's like, no, we're the Mecca. Like, and so we need to be a little bit more of that. We also need
That's the disadvantage of the diversification, is that we can't say like
we
this
can't
is
say
what
we're the
great
city.
at.
Yeah, New York's got like finance
Yeah.
and media, and then San Fran's got PE and venture capital and tech, and so Chicago's diversity does kind of limit it because I think we're first or second to follow things versus like the leader. But that being said, like Chicago has so many great businesses and there's great people, the Midwest values, but I do think there needs to be more of a push to talk about how awesome we are, and also invite the outside business community in. We need to have a much more willingness to do a deal. We need to have much more willingness to bring in some action, to just get more activity in, get different types of thinkers. And I think Chicago's a little cliquey too, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. And then the state of Illinois is almost like its own dynamic versus other states, because states are competing
now,
with each other. It feels like more than ever. I mean, whether that's tax treatment or regulatory environment, or whether Illinois likes it or not. I mean, you have to
incentivize it.
Yeah, you got to be competitive and say, hey, why are we losing? And it's not just the weather, and figure out like, and we can't just like sort of single target one thing to sort of wave the banner to. I think the Bears thing is a classic example of, sort of like there's competition out there, and you can't just sort of take it for granted.
And they're going to give good offers,
right?
And the offers are going to kind of make the Bears probably second guess and be like, maybe we should go to Indiana,
right? I mean,
even though it's really silly, but maybe they should.
I mean,
I hope they don't.
It's just like but the reality is there's 50 states, and they all have their own sort of laboratory of tools in the toolbox that they can compete for, people ultimately, employers, and it just feels like we're at times, for whatever reasons, that as a state we're losing people to other states. So we operate in Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, a little bit in Michigan, and Florida.
Where's the hardest place to operate?
They all have their own different dynamics for sure. I think, believe it or not, Florida is booming, and yet it's very challenging from the standpoint of zoning and getting permits and everything else. And so, you talked about the Bears dynamic. We've lived for a long time between Illinois and Indiana, and it's just a line. And there's definitely sort of a different type of approach from our standpoint that Indiana has towards businesses like ours, at least, sort of rolling out the red carpet versus seeing us as like being suspicious towards us, in a lot of respects. And
Chicago needs to stop doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just sort of
in Illinois, to your point. Yeah.
In some respects, it really becomes like a certainty issue more than anything else about like a clear future. Like if I'm going to invest all this money, or even think to start working on all the entitlements and the permits and everything else, I want to have some sense that the government
is going to be helpful.
Yeah, and at least not like
get in the way.
Sort of like really shut us down or be sort of combative or whatever.
And that's wild to be that Chicago would be putting up roadblocks. Like the example of the Star Wars Museum. You've heard this example, not be able to. Do you know about it?
Well, I mean, I know that the battle about the public lands and everything else. Yeah.
To me, that's like absurd. You're saying we could have
That's a branding
unique-
thing. That's a branding thing. Like you want George Lucas to be like, hell yeah, I'm putting it in here. Yeah. You
Well,
want
even that we couldn't figure it out one way or the other. I mean, there's countless stories, that we could name one after another, and we've sort of fumbled the ball. I feel like at times, and you go back to that point about incentives. Where are the incentives? Mm-hmm. And sometimes I think the squeaky wheel, the activist people who seem like they can affect the politician, whatever. Are they the loudest in the room or they're making the most noise? Do we all have to become activists too? It's just sort of like really that's
maybe
that's, exactly. So, it's all part of it. I think a lot of it is just this, getting out there and humanizing the corporation. Just because you're an industrial company doesn't mean you're this big, bad, belching, terrible, old school.
Sometimes the opposite. It's sometimes the exact ally you want in your city and trying to help drive the city forward.
Yeah, I mean, we need job creators in all kinds of different forms. And to your point about the diversification of the economy, that's a wonderful thing. But in my mind, like it should be like a big tent around all these jobs. We need every job we can find, and we shouldn't feel like, some are bad and some are good and whatnot. It's a very like the infrastructure of the area, the logistics,
the
assets of the area, the universities, the airports, the centralization of things. It's just it has so much going for it. The Great Lakes and the river, and just so much going for the area.
You got to be honest about the problems and try to tackle them like with truth seeking versus trying to play these games and not incentivize correctly to certain businesses. I think that goes back to my point about like trying to approach this in a truth seeking way to actually address the problems.
Yeah.
So if Brian Barnes actually gave a great example. If Waymo came here, certain companies came here and tried to operate in the city, I'm pretty sure they're here now, right?
They are, yeah.
Yeah. But if they came here at the very start and said, I want to operate in Chicago, it just like wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And so you don't want a city to have a closed-minded approach like that. You want them to be open to it because what that potential could do, like if Sam Altman's from Illinois, like why isn't OpenAI here? I mean, I know why, but my point is like that funnels all that money and wealth creation. It funnels to so many other, then 50 others create businesses because they came from that one super successful company that exploded. How many true monster winners have come from Chicago in the last 20 years?
Mm-hmm.
Very few.
Very few. It's
question.
like Groupon, they're winners, but they're not like giant winners. Grubhub, but they're,
Yeah. Well, this is great having you guys here. It's we could talk forever, but it's nice having the shoe on the other foot a little bit with the interview.
Yeah.
And it's great to learn more about your story and look forward to seeing, your continued progress. And where can people find like your content and all that kind of stuff?
Find
YouTube
us on
and LinkedIn.
YouTube Executive House.
Executive
or
House,
the CEO series.
Yeah.
If you Google CEO series, you'll see us. Would love for you all to check it out. We're trying to showcase credible business leaders that do have influence over people.
Well, you're not just trying, you're doing it. And you're doing an amazing job, and it's great to have you here, both
Thank
of you.
you.
Thanks, Marty.
All right,
Appreciate
take
you.
care.
That was fun.
Make sure to subscribe to Set in Stone on your preferred podcast app, as well as on YouTube for full video of every conversation. Keep up on our social media and company updates over at ozinga.com.